And I am happy to report that we have a completely full dais, so from a city council side. So it is 6:30 and I'm calling the city council meeting to order.
Okay, and I'm going to call Visit Bastrop's Board of Directors to order. Visit Bastrop Board of Directors will hold a joint meeting on Monday, September 9th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. at City of Bastrop Council Chambers, 1311 Chestnut Street, Bastrop, Texas. Visit Bastrop reserves the right to reconvene, recess, or realign the joint session or call the executive session or order of business at any time prior to adjournment.
Excellent. We are called to order. For those of you, this is a different setup, and for those of you who haven't been in this setup before, you have to get obnoxiously close to the microphone, like uncomfortably close, or we will then start getting texts from public saying we can't hear what you're talking about, and it irritates them, and none of us need irritated public. So if everybody would make a point of talking close to the microphone. One of the items that we have to do, and I did get a question, so I want to address this. The legislation most recently adopted says that we have to have citizens' comments as an agenda item anytime the city council meets. So we are abiding by the law. So we are on item number 2, citizens' comments. Madam Secretary, do we have anyone signed up to speak for citizens' comments?
No, Mayor.
We are now done with item number 2, and we can move on to the work session. Item 3A, review the city's contract with Visit Bastrop dated September 12, 2017, regarding scope of service and deliverables, along with purpose of annual workshop, dialogue about performance, establish future goals and objectives, and other topics that may be relevant to the components of this contract in early June of each year. Council, we are blessed to have a hard copy. I know I have several council members that prefer a hard copy and a bound copy, so thank you, Ms. Smith and your board, for providing that for us. And at this point, City Council, unless anybody has a comment, we're going to turn it over to Visit Bastrop and let them make their presentation. All right, it's all yours, Mr. Howard.
Okay, I'd like to start by introducing our staff. Christy Hunn is our marketing coordinator. Ashton LaFuente is our marketing manager. Catherine Lang, right here behind me, is our director of sales. Carrie Zimmerman is our support specialist. Thank you. And Susan Smith, our president and CEO. We wouldn't be here without her. Thank you so much. I'd like to also introduce the executive committee. I'm Clint Howard. I'm chair of the committee representing the arts sector. Rick Brackett, right beside me here, represents marketing and nightlife, co-chair. Kevin Plunkett, representing the restaurants, and our secretary, Brenda Abbott, representing venues and special events. Thank you for your time and commitment to the organization. And then I'd like to just thank the rest of the board for being here. We appreciate your service, and we appreciate all the time y'all put into making this happen. With that, I'm going to hand this over, well, and go over the mission and the vision of Visit
I'm sorry,
Bastrop.
Mr. Howard. I have been told that I should have introduced all of my city council, so I'm going to talk about people who are here for the city. Next to me is City Manager Linda Umble. Next to her is Council Member Doc Jackson. Next to him is Council Member Bill Ennis. Next to him is Mayor Pro Tem Lyle Nelson. Next to him is Council Member Drusilla Rogers, and next to her is Councilman Bill Peterson. Thank you. Hopefully I'm out of hot water with my side. So back over to you. Back over to you.
Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Susan and let her take it from here.
So I would like to start out by just quickly reviewing the mission and the vision of Visit Bastrop and why we are here. So the mission of Visit Bastrop is to stimulate the economic growth of the city by marketing Bastrop region as a vibrant visitor destination, including conventions, meetings, outdoor recreation, and special events. Our vision is to be recognized and respected as a leading destination marketing organization and to achieve economic vitality for our destination with success through integrity, enthusiasm, creative involvement for the promotion of Bastrop as a great Texas small town destination. And just for a quick review for folks that might be listening in travel and tourism terms, DMO stands for Destination Marketing Organization. Visit Bastrop is a DMO, and we're responsible for the development of our destination by formulating effective travel and tourism strategies. Some of the things that we do is oversee and create marketing campaigns, advocate for increased investment but to enhance our visitors' experience, formulate campaigns to attract conventions and interact with leisure, vacation, meeting professionals, and all those folks that we want to get here within our 11 market segments, as well as tourism. So what we will do now is we will go through the scope of services that's been outlined in our city agreement. We will review what was agreed to in the joint agreement that we have, what we've accomplished, and then our metrics around our successes. So I'm going to break down under scope of services 2.2. We're going to continue on to, these are the basic bones of the agreement to attract leisure visitors, attract and secure meetings, serve as a liaison to local businesses, carry out the actions defined in our business plan, utilize research reports, provide marketing and imaging, inform and partner with city regarding high-profile efforts, detail reports of our expenditures made with hot funds, and provide expertise in destination management. We presented a business plan to City Council in January of 2019. It was approved. This is under scope of services 2.3. We presented a business plan performance targets and revenue to City Council along with that plan. It was presented and approved in January 2019, and we are reporting monthly at City Council meetings. On scope of services 2.4, the city permits Visit Bastrop access to utilize city-owned facilities. We are doing that through the Convention Center and City Hall. We are also to have a board of directors, which we do, and I just want to point out that this board of directors is 15 members representing 11 industry sectors, and these are volunteer members from the community that provide the fiduciary oversight and provision of strategic direction. We also have an opening in sports, if anybody would like to be nominated, and they can see Becky Womble for that.
I would just like to, on behalf of council, give special recognition to all of your board of directors. They volunteer their time. It's very much appreciated. Time is that one commodity that you can get no more of, so it's important how you spend it, and just want to personally tell each of you thank you very much for your time and commitment to the organization.
Yes, we're very fortunate. Okay, accreditation. This is exciting. We will become an accredited destination through the Destination Marketing Accreditation Program. It's a 2 to 3 year process. We were accepted into the program early, March of 2019, and we've begun the accreditation process. So we have a very good foundation in place, and we should be able to whiz right through it. So we may be one of the record organizations. So next is our hotel occupancy tax funding. I just wanted to put this in here just to remind folks that what is the HOT funding? Since the 1960s, HOT funding has been an important tool for promoting growth in tourism. 500 Texas cities levy a local hotel occupancy tax that's generated by hotel guests. This is not a property tax. This is not a sales tax. This is generated by hotel guests, and the HOT fund use falls under a more structured statutory mandate. So the state law dictates the revenues from the HOT funds, which may be used only to directly promote tourism in the hotel and convention industry. Okay, at this time, we're going to review our budget, and I just would like to remind everybody in the room that we are reviewing through July. So this is not the complete fiscal year. This is just year-to-date July of 2019. Our fiscal controls are monitored by CFO by Design, and we're not able to be here tonight, but they are the group that manages all of our finances, as well as Kevin Plunkett, who is on our executive committee and also on our financial committee. So between Kevin, myself, and CFO by Design, and then the whole board, it's how we manage our funds. So Kevin's going to run through the budget with you.
Ms. Smith, real quick before Kevin does, this is for the public and just for general edification. That HOT tax is a hotel occupancy tax that is generated both inside the city limits and in the ETJ. Right. All that money is collected. That follows state law. The way that the contract is written and the way the agreement is done is we collect all of that money, we take out the payment for the convention center, and what is left, we divide by 2, and that's the number that goes to you. That is how it is currently written in the document. That is something that we can make that amount go up or go down, but I want folks to understand, because a lot of times people think that it comes out of property tax or it comes out of different places. So I just wanted to set the groundwork. That's where the number comes from. We didn't just accidentally make up that number. It's all based on what we are able to collect for hot funds, take out the convention center, divide by 2, that was your budget.
Correct.
Okay?
Kevin?
All right, thank you. Just start off running through the balance sheet. Pretty simple balance sheet of current assets are strong. We've got we're down a little bit from last year, but that's because last year we had a lot of extra money in the budget because we didn't have a marketing plan to spend it on. So we intended to build up money over the course of last year and put it into the launch of the marketing, the campaign. That's it. That's the word. That was going to be for that was going to be spent in fiscal year 19. So that's why you see a decrease in cash. Liabilities are just your standard prepaid expenses. Fixed assets, we put a good bit of money into the website this year. And see, everything else is, we spent some money on furniture and equipment, but none of it was, or not much of it was, met the threshold for capitalization, so it came through as expenses. All right. Liabilities are just your standard accounts payable. We have very few liabilities. We have no long-term liabilities, so. Let's see which one we have. Prepaid. Okay. Yeah, your prepaid. Oh, we're still at that. Okay. That's an asset. So we've kind of covered the prepaid expenses. There's, it's just these are expenses that we pay once a year maybe, and then it gets used over the course of the year. It's really no big deal. You can. Who's running the clicker?
Me.
There we go. Okay.
He says you're not going fast enough.
Yeah,
Press that middle button. You can try.
Which one did you hit?
The middle one.
All right. Let's see. The revenues are almost entirely made up of the city contract, so not much surprises there. Now, what we do have, there was $18,799 that came from last year, which was a result of an audit that Tracy does, I believe, to true up what was actually collected in hot funds versus what was budgeted. And that's one of those things that we should probably look at some point. If it's easier for Tracy just to do the calculation each quarter, each month, or whatever, instead of truing it up at the end of the year, that might make, if that makes things easier for her, it would sure give us a little bit of visibility as far as what the actual revenues are over the course of the year, so that we don't have a big hickey at the end or a big bonus
so
at the end.
the sideline conversation we're having is we have to make sure that we don't get in trouble with our auditors. So
Sure.
You know how those finance people are.
Oh, yeah.
We'll absolutely bring it to her. We need to make it easy on both organizations, but make sure that we don't create audit problems for each other.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. All right. Let's see. I discussed a little bit earlier. We were over on office expenses, and that came from the fact when we did our budget, there was a decent chance that we would be moving offices. So we put in some expenses we put in some money in the budget to cover that. We didn't wind up doing that. So instead, we wound up buying some office furniture and things like that to expand what we had in here. So that's where we're a little bit over on that one. Marketing, we're a little bit under budget at this point. Is there, Ashton, anything coming
We're
down
going
the
to come
pipe?
out. We're going to come out right at budget on marketing as we end the year. We just had some bigger expenses that haven't hit.
This is just that
July.
because you're through July.
Just through
The
July,
difference
right?
between
So we
through
still
July
have
and the end of the year.
August and September, and yeah, exactly.
And we're a little under on personnel, mainly because we haven't been at full staff all year. Change in net assets, that's just the leftover money that is left in the budget because we don't have profit since we're a nonprofit, so they call it change in net assets. So that's just the money that we're planning to put aside until next year so we can spend it then. All right, and here's a pie chart that shows the breakdown of expenses. As you see, hopefully, like we would want, sales and marketing is the #1 expense, since that's our purpose as an organization. Also, at the bottom left, big slice of pie there, that is personnel expenses, much of which is marketing expenses, because that's what these people do, is they market. We estimate about, of our 5 heads, about 3.5 of those are marketing heads. So really, they're doing marketing work, and that's work we would have to pay somebody else to do and pay their profit and everything else that would be included in that to get that work done.
So Kevin, does that mean the 36.3% that's called out as sales and marketing is not personnel, that's contracted marketing?
Those are marketing expenses, so it's ad buys,
Okay.
it may be simple view, there's any number of
Website.
any different.
But it's not personnel, to your point.
Correct.
And what's the difference between personnel and overhead?
Overhead is going to be your office expenses, things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Utilities.
Kevin, what is sponsorships in this instance?
Sponsorships, we put Music Fest in sponsorships, right? So I think that's probably much it in that category, right?
The sponsorship of the music festival.
So we sponsor the Visit Bastrop, or the Music Fest, and
That's also Table on Main? Didn't you guys do a sponsorship for Table on Main? Would that be included in that as well?
Yes,
Or
so
somewhere
that
else?
would be, it would probably, it would be some smaller, the bulk of it is the music festival, but then there's some smaller community sponsorships that we would do as well.
yeah, we probably bought a table at the chamber banquet and some stuff like that, maybe, things like
Back
that.
to community relations.
Yeah. All right, and you can see our net assets are looking pretty good. We don't have any debt, so really these are not a whole lot of, there's not a lot of meaning to these because our balance sheet is so clean. Expense versus budget, you can see where we line up as far as what we intended to spend versus what we spent. We're just a little under on just about everything, so that's where we like to be. And here's a shot of the statement of activities, which in the private sector we would call a balance sheet, P&L. Anybody have any questions on that? I don't see any point in me reading that to you.
Council, any questions? They all look happy, Kevin. Good job.
All right.
Well, we got it.
Okay, we're going to move on to Scope of Services 2.2, Marketing and Public Relations Plans and Methodology. In 2018, I believe the board went through an exercise and hired Augustine to provide our marketing and public relations. We signed them on in February of 2019 to become our agency of record. And we have a wide variety of strategy, creative resources that we have through Augustine that we would normally or otherwise be unable to afford to recruit and maintain an ongoing basis. So one of the things that's important to note with going out to an agency to help you with your marketing is, first of all, it's very, very common in this industry. If we were to bring in the same amount of resources in-house, we would need a team of 8 to 10 designers. We would probably be in the range of $650,000 to $750,000 in costs, in annual salaries and overhead costs to bring those folks in-house. So what we do is, one of the things that they do for us is they are outsiders to our area, so they're able to give us a very objective view of what a tourist or a meeting planner would see when they come here. They also, then what we do is we help offer the direction and then hold them accountable. So even if they were the only ones doing the marketing, you still have to hold them accountable, you still have to have local direction, you still have to have the local community, and the cost would be just incredibly prohibitive to have them in-house. Does anybody have any questions on an agency of record? Okay. Next is our project summary. what we've worked through with Augustine this year, we worked on our Bastrop brand development. We worked on a logo project, our new brand photo and video shoot. We also they also work on our account management, our public relations. We, in partnership with us, developed our strategic marketing plan. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a video that represents the creative concept, the creative strategy, and our campaign concept that we'll discuss following this video.
Unforgettable stories begin with the people who help you along your journey. Genuine, charming, lively. Our unique brand of Southern hospitality invites you in, making you a part of something amazing. Welcome to Bastrop, Texas. Welcome to it all. We're a historic Texas town, proud of our traditions, prouder still to share them with you. It all starts with a stroll down Main Street, followed by an epic outdoor adventure. Then mix in some live music and top it off with a mouth-watering meal. And that's just half of it. Consider this your invitation to get comfortable, make yourself at home, and stay a while. Bastrop, Texas. Welcome to it all. Plan your trip at visitbastrop.com.
Nice cameo, Councilmember Rogers. Good job. Good job.
All right, at this point, I'm going to turn this over to Ashton Lafuente, who is our marketing manager, and she will tell you how we came to that video through our different creative concepts and creative strategies.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to backtrack and kind of summarize the branding process for you guys. It was about a 6-month project that was kind of devoured in 3 slices. Those 3 slices consisted of research and discovery, brand identity, logo design, and color analysis, and then the development of our brand standards, kind of the book of rules about how we're going to live and breathe and talk and sound. I wanted to describe a little bit more to you guys about what a brand actually is. It's important to understand that branding is not an exercise in graphic design. It is a process of defining a vision that will inspire and engage all targets. A successful BMO brand reflects the dynamic interaction between the city's key asset and the way those assets are perceived and valued by the residents, business owners, and visitors. We also understand not only are those assets important, but the authentic experiences that we have also are kind of the heart of it all. So between the assets and the experiences that we offer, the Welcome to It All campaign was kind of born. So as you can see here, we've got a list of, our voice and tone and our values and our brand pillars and our brand position and our brand promise, which kind of encapsulates the entire brand experience, the Bastrop experience. So that's a little bit of the history about how the brand was kind of developed. Moving on to slide 29, our creative strategy for the year really focused on just getting us out there in the airwaves to let people know that we're a destination, we're here, and we've got a lot of cool things to offer. So the Welcome to It All campaign was developed. It positioned Bastrop as a top location for both leisure and business travel by educating potential visitors and meeting planners to all the unique amenities and experiences available to incite action and change existing perceptions about our destination. Some of the marketing channels and tactics that we use are kind of listed at the bottom of the paragraph: public relations, content marketing, influencer partnerships, social media, digital, meeting focus, trade shows, outreach, and more. Moving on to page 30 is the campaign concept, Welcome to It All. You kind of heard her talk it out in the video. It's just kind of this consistent messaging that we use when we speak about our brand to kind of create consistency about what people can expect. So we use this, this verbiage a lot in our marketing efforts. Moving on to page 31. Susan?
Part of our target audience is, our target audience that we're showing that this brand was developed from was to engage our travelers and meeting planners and event planners by immersing travel in the Welcome to It All. We have a target audience. Our target audiences are tied back to our 11 market sectors. So we would have a target audience in film and in arts and in history. So the whole process basically blends all of those target audiences together. Our marketing goals are to increase overnight leisure visitation and visitor spending, position Bastrop as the perfect meeting destination, and our objectives are awareness, desirable destination, visitation, and thought leadership to become the trusted source for leisure travel and meeting planning.
What does thought leadership mean?
They think of Visit Bastrop when they're looking at a place for a resource.
And I'm just going to kind of speak to the process of creating what you're looking at is called a fluid logo. And it's kind of a fun tool for us in the marketing world to be able to use our brand to speak to all the various markets that we represent. So we developed this fluid logo to speak to our industry sectors. It was kind of final fold of our marketing project. We partnered with Katie Alcorn, who is a local artist in our community, and she created the pieces of iconography that sit behind each one of our logos. So depending on who we're speaking to and who our audience is, we will use these logos interchangeably in our messaging. Moving on to page 34, what you're looking at now is our robust print ad schedule, and you can kind of see the publication and then what we ran with the publication. So Texas Events was a publication that we went with as well as Texas Highways, and then for our group and meeting planner focus, we went with South Central Motor Coach Newsletter and ABA. So you can see kind of where we placed, and depending on what time of the year it was, we interjected different ads into those publications. And on the next page, you can see a highlight of those print ads. And in our marketing plan, we allocated for 4 new print ads this year. And so we took a focus on live music, art, outdoor, and dining. And those 4 ads are represented on your PowerPoint. And so those are the 4 ads that you will see in our print ad schedule interchangeably throughout our marketing for this year.
Okay, the methods in which we use to deliver our marketing and PR are content, social media influencers, say that last 3 times, digital advertising, and of course our website. So under content marketing, obviously our objective is to increase activity in our public relations, social media, content development efforts focused on attracting target leisure and meeting planners. And then we have the mediums that we use below. Our objective under social media influencers is to identify 4 to 6 influencers that align with our target travels to visit Bastrop. And then those influencers showcase various lodging properties, events, restaurants, shopping, etc. And the medium for that is just multiple social media influencers and micro-influencers. Digital advertising is a huge part of what we do. We work with the focus of digital efforts on Google search engine marketing, and Ashton will speak to those numbers at the end of this presentation. The numbers are absolutely amazing of what our digital advertising has accomplished. Digital advertising for group tours and motor coach, again, is to create awareness of Visit Bastrop as a preferred destination for tours and meeting planners. Mediums are new for us this year, which is the American Bus Association, a sponsorship of a Smart Meetings webinar. That's where people will take a webinar. There's typically around 400 or 500 tour operators that will be on the phone listening to that, and as part of our sponsorship, we will get their contact information so that we can follow up with them. South Central Motor Coach Association, and then we've also developed this year what is new is a newsletter for group and meeting focus 1 month, and then the next month we're doing a tourism newsletter. So we're staying in front of our audiences every month. And I think I've copied you all on those. You've seen those newsletters.
Yeah, they're great.
Okay, Ashton's going to go over these fantastic numbers that we have.
So page 40, what you're looking at is year-to-date website metrics for us. And we're seeing really good growth year over year on the website. It's important to remember that last year we did not have any paid efforts behind it. So I kind of put the visual representation on the bottom. We were humming along pretty good. And then you can see the consistent spike in growth there when we started advertising aggressively. So year over year, 250%, 257% growth. Really good listing page views, conversion rates in the double digits, which is a really good conversion rate. Time on the page is really good. Organic visitors, which are people who aren't prompted by anything. They're just naturally interested, typing our information into the Google search bar. So we monitor all this stuff, and it's just, we put our metric up there next to the industry standard so that you can kind of get a gauge on what we're trying to stay above. So good numbers. We're proud of those numbers. On to page 41 is also been a labor of love for us, but we have a Visit Bastrop app. We've been in the process of rebranding it. So it's been launched. We rebranded it after we got the new brand. It's been updated, and now it's been added to the Play Store and ready for download. So I highly encourage everybody to go online to the Play Store and grab it and take a look at it. And we're working through it, so it's not perfect yet, but we welcome any feedback you guys might have on that. So Christy and I have been working on it.
And IT has pushed it to all of council's phones and iPads. So
Wonderful.
We've all got it.
Thank you.
Good
It's
job.
wonderful. On to the next page, page 42. is the digital newsletter that Susan was speaking to just a moment ago. We have rolled that out. We've sent out, I think we're on to like maybe our 5th newsletter so far. And we just wanted to drop in some stats for you guys. That obviously the objective is to generate awareness. A lot of our efforts are focused on generating awareness. And then the medium is obviously the email. And then you can see our open rate, and then we put the industry average over there on the right just to kind of give you a gauge on where we are. So we're always trying to be mindful of that. The next page is a highlight of the billboard that we put up in town. If you'll notice that the 2 billboards on the outside of the imagery have been replaced. We went for about 6 to 8 months with the ones that you have in your presentation, but just recently we put up some new ones in town. They're meant to serve as directionals and create an impression for the people who are frequently traveling up and down Highway 71, who drive up and down Highway 71. They're like, oh yeah, I've been through Bastrop, and I was on Highway 71, and so we put these billboards up to kind of remind them that if you just drive up and down 71, you don't really know Bastrop. And so we tried to put some unique experiences up there to kind of grab the attention of folks and let them know that you really need to get off the highway to see what Bastrop is really all about. The one in the center is a project that Becky really helped us with. It's the billboard that, is it New Haven, Argent Care? New Haven Assisted Living, up close to 71 in Tahitian. That went up, and then it went down with some bad weather, and then it recently went back up again. So thank you, Becky.
Really good.
Thank you. So thank you, Becky, for your help with that. We're really proud of those. We also decided to do some pole sign banners in town. So we branded Main Street and Chestnut with our new Visit Bastrop flags. And the ones on the bridge are really cool. They're about 2 feet longer than what you're used to seeing, and we think that they're much more visually appealing and seen by folks. So we like those.
Okay, well, you all know we had our 2nd annual Mayor Pro Tem. Did you hear what I just said? Did you hear what I said? I did, didn't I? We had the Bastrop Music Festival's our 2nd annual, and we're going to review those statistics, but I first want to show you a video. So the Bastrop Music Festival this year brought in an economic impact of $198,000 to our area, 158 room nights, and we increased our total wristband sales, which includes single show wristbands, from 1,600 to 2,265 this year. Just want to make sure, is that the right slide?
Say that
Yes,
again. You
yes,
said
yes.
198,000.
198,000 in economic impact.
Okay.
158 room nights.
158 room nights. Okay. Thank
Okay. And then total wristbands, including single show wristbands, in 2018 was 1,600. This year was 2,265. That's a 41.5% increase over last year's sales. Now you will notice that we had a high number of comps this year. And that was due to the number of venues that we had.
More venues, more sponsors.
More venues, more sponsors. So Visit Bastrop is given an amount of comp tickets. The venues are given an amount. The bands are given an amount. The sponsorships, the sponsors are given an amount. And also the promo folks and volunteers are given comp tickets.
So you had a comparison on the sponsorship dollars that you got?
Well, we don't put it on. We just sponsor it. So the sponsors would be...
The sponsors get additional comp tickets, so I was just wondering how much did the...
Well, the sponsors would be the ones that work with the promoter.
I understand.
But so we don't have access to those numbers.
Okay.
The attendees were 50% local, 30% from Austin, and 20% from outside the area, and those areas are listed below. Does anyone have any questions?
This feels to me like the perfect, if you'll make it good for the locals, the visitors will come.
Right. And it's going to just build upon itself year over year over year. So, I mean, it's already shown in the numbers.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson, any questions about the music festival? Councilmember Jackson?
Yes, I just saw that in the other, they were all Texas cities. Was there no one from out of state that was involved, or did you just not get that information?
There was a few, there just wasn't as many to mention. We just took like the top amount. There was some from Colorado, there was some from the East Coast, but it was very minimal. So yeah, just Wednesday, Tuesday. So we just took the top areas.
And I just want to add one more caveat to that. Our first year, the marketing effort around the music festival for the first year was to really push those 4-day wristbands. So some of the feedback that we learned from that was that people really wanted to know about those cover charges and the single shows. So that is attributed to the growth of those single show wristbands year over year. That instead of just focusing on the wristband, we were actively advertising that you could, if you didn't want to pay for the full 4 days, you could just go up to each venue and pay that cover charge to see those 1 or 2 shows that you wanted to participate in.
So you guys intend to do that next year as well?
We're going to take a look at the way we do next year. No, that's fine. We're going to take a look at the way that we do next year in terms of the amount of sponsorship dollars, maybe some revenue sharing. We're going to take a deeper dive into it. This was my first year with this, so I want to take a deeper dive this year.
I had a question, I'm sorry. And you said you're wanting it to grow. I was just wondering if the venues can handle more than what they're... What I hear is a lot of the places were packed, so I mean, if we got more people, where could the venues handle more people?
That's exactly what we're looking at. That maybe places like Mayfest Park, the convention center, for groups like the Peterson Brothers. I mean, that was definitely too small of a venue for someone like that. So that's part of this deeper dive that we're going to do this year.
Oh, okay.
And add maybe some shuttles or things like that to get people out and do some bigger headliners in bigger areas.
But that's a great question.
It is a great question.
Kevin had something to say.
Well, first of all, while small, it was a really good venue for the Peterson Brothers.
Yes, it was an outstanding venue for the Peterson Brothers.
But also, yeah, I think we talked about even Main Street potentially as a place to set. I mean, there's a lot of ways to grow it. Within each individual location, probably maybe not, but there's definitely ways to make this a bigger event.
But it's absolutely worth a deep dive because you have the bad experience, and then that stays with you longer than it was great.
Exactly.
So I appreciate that y'all are doing a deep dive and doing the analytics. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Okay, moving along, we're going to now summarize everything that we just talked about for in our business plan around our performance targets for marketing and public relations. As you can see, we set our goals at the beginning of the year. We set these goals based on my experience in the industry, what other CDBs and DMOs have done. Being a first-year DMO, I felt that we selected some pretty high-reaching goals, and I even mentioned that in January when I presented our business plan to you. And I am incredibly thrilled to say that we have achieved, and in some cases, blown away the numbers on many of our metrics. Ashley doesn't realize it, but it's just going to make her job that much difficult next year, much more difficult. The Visit Bastrop blog, which is, really, it's been recently released. It's a labor of love. We're just getting it up and running. So that 600,000 visits because we just recently released it, and I'm not worried about meeting those metrics for an upcoming year. The same with our digital campaign. We said, we'll get 25 million impressions. We got 2.1 million, which is excellent. And so I think that's a very solid number to be happy with, and reminding ourselves that we did not roll this campaign out until February. So this is from February to July.
Wow.
Okay, now moving on into the meetings and events segment of our business. This is from October 1st until the end of, this one is not July, this would be through August 31st. We have presented a total of 43 leads to our member partners. That equals about 9,451 room nights. We presented we sold 4, we got 4 definites, we booked 4 for a total of 320 room nights. Lead service requests, just to remind folks who's listening in, those are things that maybe a group would like to come into downtown and go shopping, and we give them a bus, or they do special round dinners in downtown, and we set up the reservations. It's anything that doesn't have to do with the heads and beds. So we had 9 of those, 6 service requests, 7 lost leads, 8 unable to bid. Basically what we're doing is we're keeping track of things that we're not able to bid on because perhaps it could be size, it could be we don't have the appropriate facilities at the convention center, so that as we grow we can look to see where our weaknesses are. Lead assists, that's basically anything that we present to the Hyatt. So that we found them on our own, we present them to the Hyatt, and that was about 4,000 room nights that we presented to them. 2 of them were booked, and we lost 4. The numbers may not add up to 7 because that could be that they're still pending out there. So all in all, from October to August 31st, when we run our economic impact calculator through Destinations International, the impact of our leads year to date has been 4.7 million, and the impact of our definites to date has been 2.1 million. So we presented about 4.7 million potential business. Doesn't mean that we lost it all, just may not have closed yet. But what has actually been seen in this area is 2.1.
Excellent. Ms. Smith, Councilmember Ennis, go ahead.
I want to make sure about this because I don't want it to look like it's something where you're not meeting the mark. When you provide a lead assist to the Hyatt, it's essentially the Hyatt's job to complete the sale, right?
Exactly. In a lead assist or a lead, we qualify the lead to make sure that, yes, indeed, we do have what the meeting planner wants. But we are not involved in the negotiations with the hotel in terms of the cost, the food and beverage. They may not have the dates available. There could be a variety of things. So we can't control definites.
I thought that was the case, and I didn't want Visit Bastrop to look like they lost the business.
Right. No, we can't control that. Thank you. That's a great point. Okay. Moving on. Our competitive markets right now, comp sets, our direct competitors are San Antonio, Horseshoe Bay, Austin, Fredericksburg. Our Omni Barton Creek, now that it's fully renovated, has been a direct competitor. Kalahari will be a direct competitor when they open. And then also in Fredericksburg, the Hilton of the 150 rooms is scheduled to open in 2020. That's a full resort and convention facility.
When's Kalahari supposed to open?
2020.
So both Kalahari and Fredericksburg are both 2020?
Yes. Other information on our competitive markets is the fact that we don't have a convention center hotel that has any meeting space with breakout rooms in the full service restaurant. So this is what we're competing against with hotels and convention centers that do have that. We also do not provide currently transportation from hotels to convention center in downtown. Of course, the Airbnbs, and then the Hyatt will be undergoing room renovations at the end of this year. So they'll have several rooms out of pocket at different times, and expect to have that done in June. Is that correct, Becky? We heard yes. The growth sectors out in the meeting and events industry this is really good news for us because we're seeing that the national hotel trends demonstrate that there's an increasing demand for unique hotel experiences that target local historic assets. So that's definitely us. Other growth sectors in meeting and events is wellness, mini vacations, that would be for tourism, Insta holidays, by leisure, which is business leisure, coming and going on either end of your business trip. Outdoor recreation, solo travelers is a real big one, and then cooking and restaurant experiences. So this is where we're seeing the business grow.
I just had one question also. You were mentioning some of the other competitors, and I was just wondering about the new Pravista, I think it is, that resort that's opening up. Is that?
That's the Fredericksburg, I believe. Is it that the one in Fredericksburg?
No.
No.
It's oh my gosh, it's out northwest Boston. And that's
Kalahari?
That's Kalahari.
Okay, this was, well, maybe they've changed the name then because it was called something else when I went out there to look at it. And I was just thinking about San Marcos with their hotel and convention center combination. That's not in our same ballpark, I guess, then.
It's not in our comp set.
Okay.
Also, a part of our agreement with the city is to be sure that we engage our locals with Visit Bastrop, and part of the ways that we do that is we collaborate with our local economic development allies to build consistent messaging, and we engage with our locals. We attend Chamber of Commerce events, and we work very closely with our city offices, police, parks, recreation, and convention center. So it takes a village, as my grandmother would say. Other community relations that we are involved in is serving on local organizing committees, monthly meetings, roll out the hotel occupancy tax funding for local groups, initiatives, and events, and I will go over that in just a few minutes. Co-sponsorship of training for downtown merchants, industry sector meetings, and destination stewardship. So on to the hot funds. This is the $75,000 budget that is set aside for individuals that would like to start a special event that we can tie back to some sort of heads and beds. So the events that we have funded thus far this year has been the Lost Pines Knife Show, the 2019 Bastrop County Bridal Extravaganza, Community Gardens Barbecue, and the Blue Flame Cruisers. So you'll see their request, a number of room nights that they actually booked, and where it says post EIC, that's the amount of money, well, that's the economic impact to the area, and then there's their awards. So if we just look at the Lost Pines Knife Show, you'll see that we awarded them $7,200, and their economic impact back to us was around $140,000. Pending events that are are still going on, or we have not received their final numbers on their post report. We give them 60 days after their event to present us back with all of their final numbers, including their budgets and revenues and expenses. So we have the Lost Pine Knife Show. That's the second. We have funded them. They've asked for $15,000. We funded them $7,500. We put in a room night contingency on that. We said that if by September 30th you have achieved 50 room nights, then we will give you the additional $7,500, or if you book them through a room block. So we just wanted to ensure that we were getting the maximum room nights based on the amount of money we funded them compared to earlier in the year to now. Red, White, and U Dance.
I'd just like to point out that if you look back on the page before, the Community Gardens inaugural barbecue cook-off was a similar situation where they asked for $15,000, and we only awarded them partial until we could see the impact, and it didn't have the impact, so we didn't actually award them the rest of that. So that's kind of how we're handling these situations, as we can see how they're actually going to affect the community and affect the hot funds.
And we are thrilled that you're doing it that way. That's why we gave you that bucket. That's why we get the politics out of it. Let the facts speak for themselves. You're doing awesome. Continue. Continue.
Okay, moving on.
I'm going to suggest bring more bridal shows to the town.
Yeah.
That was very successful.
Very nice. Yeah.
The bridal shows, that's a
that was the sellout at the Hampton.
I'm sorry, extravaganza.
Extravaganza. No, but the logic and putting the steps in there, that's awesome. Really smart.
Thank you. So we have about $15,000 left this year. $7,500 is earmarked for that Lost Pines show. So we will be carrying over, if we don't have any other applications, we'll be carrying over an additional $7,500 into next year's.
And not that it's any of my business, I'm just curious. Are those awarded? Does the board vote on that? Has the board let staff resolve that? And I truly don't care, and there's not a right answer. I'm just curious.
I checked with other CVBs and DMOs, and I also checked with Texas Hotel Lodging Association, Justin, the attorney, and he said that typically it's the staff that does it, so that's how we're doing it.
I think that's fantastic because that means you're not waiting for a monthly meeting, and you're able to respond quickly, and if it's another extravaganza, you can tell them yes right away.
And the board approved their matrix that they score everybody off of, so we trust them to make the right decisions.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Like I said, I was just curious, and I was really kind of hoping that was the answer because it seems like that is much more responsive to the request than waiting for a monthly meeting.
Another, actually, in scope of services 2.2F is our convention center partnership. We have weekly meetings with Kathy Danielson at the convention center. She joins us at our staff meetings. She also has a seat on the Visit Bastrop Board of Directors. And I'm going to let Kathy speak just 30 seconds or less, Kathy, on the success of this program.
We're actually thrilled to partner with Susan and her staff. Our numbers are up, as I have been reporting at the City Council meetings. We actually have an event here Wednesday night that Susan brought to us. It's an event for 450 people that will be dinner and dancing. A lot of that revenue was going right back into our community with the catering and florists and all of that. So I'm working very close with Catherine Lang, their director of sales, on her inquiries and trying to fit in bookings for her as well. So the trend is up, as we've all been reporting, and we're just looking forward to what we have coming up in the next few months.
Whenever tax dollars are leveraged to increase more sales and more hot funds, it makes council very, very happy. So good job. Love to see you guys working together. Thank you.
We have a similar partnership with the Bastrop Visitor Center, and actually as part of Case Topeka's board of agreement, is that the right word? Your agreement with your board? With the city, is there's about 5 different items that Visit Bastrop will assist with. And so I've listed these 5 items out. One of them is in place currently, customer service training and a hotel that's pending, allowing training for volunteers. The visitor guide rollout will be in October. So when that visitor guide goes out, we'll do the training then. Assist Visit Bastrop with the distribution and creation of visitor information. That's what they do for us. Again, we'll roll that out in October. And we work very closely with them to create programming that would be available for groups and conventions. So I'll just ask Kay to talk just real briefly about the success we've had in this partnership. Okay, slide it up. Just push it towards you, the black. No, up here, Kay. Oh.
Colin will help you.
Oh, there she is.
My apologies. Wow. Okay. So it's been a pleasure to work with Susan since she came on board. It's been wonderful, and Ashton, Kath, all of you guys, it's been great. So the numbers for the visitor center are way up, about 50% each quarter compared to the same time last year. Now, some skeptics have said, well, you're just doing a better job at reporting. And I might agree with that, but our museum admissions are up 30%. So we are also seeing increases in the people actually going through the museum and paying to do that. So it's been a wonderful experience the last year. All of the things that they're doing have been fantastic, and we look forward to continuing to work with them in the tour area. We've developed all the curriculum and start recruiting tour guides. If any of you want to be a tour guide on a bus, in a museum, downtown walking tours, please give me a call.
Thank you, Kay. All right, looking ahead, we have one of the line items in our agreement is to be, to make sure we have a good handle on economic trends and government affairs. So I have been attending a few different things in our lovely state capitol, different meetings and events, and I've been involved with THLA, which again stands for Texas Hotels Lodging Association, and I listed here the 86th legislative session state priorities. I haven't been involved in all of them. I just listed them out so that you can see what THLA works on and how the different priorities can affect tourism in our area. So just the real basic ones is to preserve the hotel tax usage, support sensible reform, protect state programs, support the Advent Trust program. One of the things that we spent a lot of time on this year was the school schedule, so that they all started at the same time. Basically, the reasoning was that they're trying to, the word is escaping me, but it's having the school start date be the same for all schools in Texas, because what's happening now is we have some schools that go back in August, and we have some schools that go back in mid-August and September, and that pulls from our labor sources, and it helps, it prevents some of the events and attractions and things that have high school kids or college kids as employees. It prevents them from continuing their business. So uniform school start date. So that was one of the big hot buttons this year, and it will continue into next year. Economic trends that we see happening. These are Texas travel statistics, and this is basically the Texas travel industry continues to grow across many of our key markets. So we're seeing an increase to 7.3% over the previous year, and let's see, the economic impact of travel in 2018, indirect and direct was 144 billion. So here in Texas, the economic trends are going up. And then here, in the, this is more the U.S., what we're seeing for economic impact trends. Basically, this in July, the U.S. grew only 2.4% year over year in June, according to the U.S. Travel Association. So this report came out in July. Travel Index forecasts a slowdown in the international market, and that's just due to weakening global growth, trade tensions, and fading consumer and business confidence. That here on a local level, we aren't seeing that impact. We're seeing an impact going up, but I'd like to let everyone know what's going on out in the United States.
But Susan, Texas is bucking that national trend, is what you're saying?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, Texas continues to grow. Other economic trends is American travel spending over the last 20 years is showing a shift in purchasing experiences, and this is what we work with Augustine on. It's showing that the preference is coming away from indoor activities and towards outdoor activities. So this is something that's very important for our destination to make sure that we follow these kind of trends and that we're reacting to that through our marketing research, our marketing efforts. There has been some slowdown in the overall economy. The travel industry is showing some signs of slowing. It's mostly in the international market. Strategic planning has begun. We'll be through Visit Bastrop for the next year. We're developing and responding to the changing marketplace. The plan will outline some core elements of Visit Bastrop's strategic direction in guiding its brand marketing efforts, and will be inclusive of, based upon our stakeholder participation. So we're looking at leisure travels, launch targeted, converting day trippers, converting meeting and event attendees into overnight visitors, mitigating our weaknesses, exploiting our strengths, and monitoring our opportunities. As part of our strategic planning, I just wanted to highlight one of the things that we're doing this year, which is Film Bastrop, and I'm going to ask Mindy to tee something up for me in just a minute, but we're increasing awareness about Bastrop becoming a film-friendly destination and leading and promoting filmmaking in Bastrop through a user-friendly, informative website tied to an organized, effective online and social media campaign. So we will be working with Film Bastrop to create a website, help them launch a comprehensive social media campaign, and then also devise some long-term plan to elevate Film Bastrop to name working professionals in the industry that working professionals in Mindy's industry to trust and recognize Bastrop as a great place to do film. Do you want to key up the video? I'll introduce Mindy Raymond. Mindy Raymond is the president of New Republic Studios. She's also on our board of directors, and we're going to show a video, and I'll let her maybe just give a tiny background.
Yes, this was something that came from one of our sector meetings, and just how do we promote Bastrop. And fortunately, Bastrop County has been voted as the film hospitality capital of Texas. So that's a great award for us that we can kind of run with. In addition to this, I don't know, y'all should know at this point, but the Art Institute of Austin is moving to Bastrop. And so kind of the culmination of these things happening right now really makes us a very ripe environment for filmmakers to come and shoot and use their productions here in the area. So this is one of hopefully numerous videos that we can promote out beyond Texas, right? This is going to go to studios and networks and producers and filmmakers who are outside of the area who might not be familiar with what we have here, and really start to engage that conversation on how do we bring business here and what does it look like, because we're super business friendly, we're location friendly, we're infrastructure friendly, and getting productions here, because the ROI is about $5.33 to every $1 spent on film. So it's a great ROI that we want to bring right here into Bastrop.
So it's a very industry-specific audience. This is not for the general resident. It
Absolutely.
is an industry-specific. There are words that you use, and you know why I'm saying this. There are words that you use that are keywords that they're looking for that would make them want to come here and film.
Yes. Suburbia, like the suburbs of America, the images that you're going to see here are pointed towards those networks and studios and filmmakers. This is not for tourism necessarily, but the benefit of you all, I don't know if anyone's heard of Fixer Upper. Yes, and we know the tourism in Waco has gone through the roof, where there are literally buses from New York coming to Waco to see Magnolia. So we see how film tourism feeds into that as well. So, but this video in particular is to bring the business here first, so we can have more films and productions happening, and then from that we'll see those tourism dollars filtering in as well.
And I will just add that film is one of our market sectors. that is represented. Good to go.
They picture cowboys and horses, pickup trucks and dirt roads, cowboy boots and honky-tonks, wide open spaces with sunsets that last forever. Barbecue so good that you...
Yeah, we got all that, but Bastrop, Texas also has a 4-star diamond resort with authentic local cuisine. We have small town USA, sprawling suburbs, untamed wilderness, and some unique locations that just might surprise you. And a multimedia production studio on 200 acres right on the Colorado River. With friendly and professional crew. Bottom line, what are you waiting for? Who shoots in Bastrop, Texas? I do.
Really a great video.
Thank you. I mean, y'all know that having somebody like a Zachary Levi here is a gold mine. And so for him to kind of help spread that message throughout Hollywood, if you will, it's really going to start to bring eyes and ears and focus into what's going on in Bastrop and why should we be here. And not to keep going on, I know I have 30 seconds or less. We had a meeting today with Creative Artists Agency, CAA. It's one of the largest agencies in the world. They were at our studios today. They flew in 3 of their top agents to find out what are we doing, how can they represent us, why do they want to bring business here. And they're super excited about everything that's happening in this area. And so we're having those conversations already, and this is going to help even feed into that. So they're not having to tell those stories just one-off, but we can start sharing the video and the messaging and the website and everything to start bringing attention here to this area.
Okay, I'd like
That's
to
why I
share-
was late, sorry.
She can't cut me off, so I'm going to use some more of your 30 seconds. When we were in the meeting, one thing I want council to be aware of is we should all be well aware that our film commission is Debbie Moore, doing it on a volunteer basis. And there is hopefully, just like at the music festival, if it grows, there's going to have to be a place for it. I made the appeal to Debbie, because she was saying sometimes she's real busy and then sometimes she may go months and not have anything. But we can't let Mindy and the film industry fail because Debbie can't be expected to work 365, 24 hours a day. So to me, one of the things that strategically we need to be thinking about is there is going to be, hopefully, there will be a point that the demand would require someone to be an official staff person and that sort of thing. So Debbie Moore, and yes, Chief Altgelt's behind me. Debbie Moore couldn't say enough nice things about Chief Altgelt. One of the things that makes film friendly in Bastrop is the ability that they make a phone call, Debbie makes a phone call, Debbie calls James, they've got their permit. If they're in Austin, they haven't even gotten the paperwork yet. So we'll lose that edge if we get ourselves in a position that, God forbid, Debbie Moore, I don't know, visit Louisiana someday and not be available. And I know she's really good about answering the phone all the time. She's done a fantastic job. I'm appreciative for that. But I just think long-term, strategically, both the city and Visit Bastrop needs to be aware that there's potential that there could hopefully have a need for a staff person or someone on staff picking up that job as a backup or whatever. So I'll let you guys work that out, but I just know that's a potential additional cost that I think is well worth the money.
Another key component to our strategic planning is the request, which we will get to in just a few more slides. We would like to bring in a collaborative arts event coordinator. Art tourism is basically defined as a partnership between culture, the tourism industry, by creatively increasing what is unique about a community. Arts is growing faster than any other economy at large. It actually employs more than the fast food industry. And U.S. exports nearly total $20 billion in arts, cultural goods, and services. And that's not just in major cities, that's also in rural areas. So we would like to bring on a collaborative arts event coordinator this coming fiscal year to help grow the hotel room nights within the arts market, lead and promote the arts vision in community groups in a united purpose of the ever-growing arts community, and curate market events around existing Bastrop assets, create events to enhance existing Bastrop assets, and work with different art groups and organizations and their varied missions and visions. And what I'd like to point out is that, like Mindy said, we have a lot of talent right here in Bastrop. And we need to harness that talent, and we need to bring it in, and we need to curate some events around that and get the word out so that people will come for a weekend and listen to Hannibal, or they'll come to the Opera House and to the Art Center. And how do we package that? And that's what we're looking forward to doing this coming year with this position. Another key part of our strategic planning is some other goals that we have is some revenue enhancement goals. Electric vehicle charging stations. We're looking at level 2 charging stations that I'm working with Linda on in terms of as we build up downtown or build out downtown. Takes 2 hours to charge a car. People stay for several hours when their car is here being charged. And with an all-inclusive package, if we bought the all-inclusive package, we're looking at $6.67 per day we'd have to recover. And we have many sponsorship opportunities with that, and just a lot of opportunities with the growth that we have with downtown. We're also developing our visitor and meeting planner guides. Those should be out in the next month or two. We are also putting together some cooperative advertising packages where we can get more bang for our buck for our members and partners, where they can, maybe we get a full page in a magazine or a full digital buy, and so it would be something that maybe one of our partners couldn't afford on their own. So we're going to do that cooperative advertising, and then cooperative marketing, which is what we're doing with Mindy. And then we're also looking at doing some retail, and Naseem and I are talking about products and maybe trying them out at the visitor center and possibly at her store. So retail shop coming soon. Any questions on that? Okay, that is the end of our actual presentation. Now comes the time that we ask for some agreement considerations. We have 4 considerations that we would like to present to City Council. We would like to present that or ask that the current agreement the wording is changed, that the President's report will include sales, marketing, public relation metrics, along with industry, economic update, and trends, but let the format of that reporting be at our discretion.
Because I think currently it says the format's like an Exhibit A or something.
It has to be something that's similar to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah. Council, comment?
I think that was decided at the formation to create some sort of format that would allow for growth and modification at some point in time, and I think we're at that point in time, so I have no issue with that at all.
I would just like to be sure that we cover, that the agreement states that we will at least cover these individual items, which I've pulled out of the agreement.
So I'll make a comment for both of the boards real quick that we have an agenda item 3C to actually be able to vote. So at this point, we're just discussing them, and then after we've talked about all of them, then we'll go to 3C and vote. Continue, Mayor Pro Tem Nelson.
Well, the only thing I was going to ask is in some of those reports and the matrices that are presented, sometimes I require a glossary. Can we also have a glossary to explain what some of those organic growth and things are? I'm thinking of planting roses here pretty soon.
Yes, sir.
Please.
I think we can do that.
Thank you.
Council, anyone else a comment on this one item? Okay.
Our second item is to move from monthly reporting to quarterly reporting to City Council.
That seems fairly. Any comments anybody wants to make? Councilmember Ennis?
Council talked about this 2 or 3 months ago, and we decided not to agree to this, or it's kind of a consensus thing. And I'll tell you where my viewpoint is. Y'all have been a gleam in Bastrop's eye for a very, very long time, and you're the culmination of many, many years of work. I remember Sean Pletch and I working on trying to get a hot fund program going a long time ago, and we got to the point where in 2017 where the chamber had put out a report, Main Street had put out a report. What was the third group, Becky? Well, I've gone brain dead too, but I represented Main Street on a group of 5 that the council put together to settle the most burning question of all, which was whether y'all would be a division of the city or whether you would be a standalone, which you are. It was a bloodbath. And thank goodness on that group we came up with 3 votes against 2. We made the recommendation from to City Council. City Council, the burning question was whether there would be accountability and that Council would not have enough control over the DMO. We won the day in the group of 5. We brought it to Council and recommended it to Council. And Council, thank goodness, saw our way of thinking and move the whole project along. My concern, I'm not against quarterly reporting. My concern is that y'all have only been out of the chute 2 years, and that I think you ought to give it a little bit more time of monthly reporting because every month you come in and you're growing and your efforts are showing, and the opposition, some of it's still out there, but it's diminishing over time. And I think you ought to just give it another year or 2.
Is there any other comments? And one thing I want to clarify is that this is not an item that council has previously voted on. It was discussed, and when we had the discussion, we said we would talk about it at the joint meeting.
I didn't mean to give that impression that we made a decision.
Okay.
May I make a comment back to
Sure.
Councilmember Ennis? I appreciate everything you said, and being on the startup board to help create this entity, I know exactly what you're talking about and what it took to get here. But that said, we are down the road, and the amount of effort it takes our staff to prepare for these meetings on a monthly basis and then come and present month after month, when in our industry most of these changes effectively are not happening in a 30-day window. I think we're going to get actually more impact from our staff, and we're going to have more to tell you if we're not having to do this on a monthly basis. So I would recommend and ask you all to consider that in your decision, because we have shown that we are ready to run, and if you'll let us have a little bit more leeway, we can make bigger impact.
I would also think it goes without saying, whether it's in the contract or not, if there's ever an issue, you will be presenting. We'll be putting you on the agenda, and you'll be coming, and we'll be talking. So I think
actually my question was commenting exactly what you just said. If for some reason we decide to move it to quarterly, if it wasn't written, would council have the right to pull them in? I mean, I'm just not sure if it's not in that contract. Okay, I mean, that way if there's some reason the bus did get in the ditch, we can pull it back in.
Yes, ma'am. As an elected official, you can put anything on the council agenda, and it can be any topic you want.
Oh,
So,
really? Oh, well,
yeah.
we'll talk to Linda here a little more.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
I guess from a youthful, exuberant side that I have, I guess I think y'all are ready to move to a quarterly report. I think the proof is in the pudding. I think y'all have shown y'all have been willing and capable to provide us with the data that we need to ensure the public trust. And I'm sure we're going to have this discussion at the dais at some point in time, but that's something that I'm going to be advocating for, because again, proof is in the pudding. I like y'all to be freed up to bring more tourism dollars into our community than filling out reports. So it's something that obviously we're going to have to discuss. But I'm in complete agreement with your chair on this.
I'd like to also just mention the reason why, I probably should have led with that, that we are asking to go from monthly to quarterly. One of the reasons is what Clint mentioned, which is staff time. It's an exuberant amount of staff time. But also the reports that we get from our industry, by the time we get to City Council, one report is 2 months gone by, another report is the month after, and then we're forecasting for another month, and they're accurate, but it's just keeping track of those time frames becomes a real challenge on what we're reporting. So if we were to go quarterly, then we would have a complete 3-month picture, boom, done.
Ms. Smith, based on that, do you have which 4 months you make the most sense for you to present? Because it would be great for all of the industry trends to line up with what you're presenting.
Yeah, I would just do a regular quarter on our fiscal year, which would be October, November, December, January, February, March. So October, November, December, we would report in January. And then January, February, March, report in April, if that makes sense, right? And so on.
Okay. Yeah, yes, Councilmember Jackson?
Yeah, I was just saying, I wasn't here when that was initially discussed, but seeing the track record and looking at the statistics that Visit Bastrop has provided, I think that quarterly reports will be fine, and yet knowing that we have that option to bring them on if we deem it necessary to get some more information. So at this point, as far as I'm concerned, I think that the quarterly would be fine, but we'll reserve the option to do the monthly or a month if we need that at that time.
We're going to vote on it on 3C in just a minute. So,
right. I'm just voicing my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that very much. Councilmember Peterson?
No, I just want to say, Mayor, that I don't really care for pudding, but maybe once a quarter.
Okay. Well, we're getting ready to vote on that. So,
one thing I would ask, Mayor, is that we leave in the agreement that we still present to you in September for the upcoming year, which is our business plan and our budget.
Okay. So
that might be the month that maybe should be a separate meeting.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind, because I don't see that you have changed that, is that we have a joint meeting and it's currently scheduled for June,
right,
perhaps, because I think the quarterly reports to council, if that is the way council chooses to vote, the city manager and I were both taking notes. We think that you are saying you would like to present in January, April, July, and October. And if we are having a joint meeting, if it needs to be a separate meeting, if you're saying getting ready for the budget, maybe our joint meeting takes care of that separate meeting and we do it in an August or September. I don't care.
I think we should continue to have the joint meeting in June.
Okay.
And I think we should have a special meeting in September because we will have had the budget approved by my board. Or we can put it in with October. That's fine too. I don't want to create a lot of extra meetings, but those two are called out in our agreement, so I want to make sure they're addressed.
So the joint meeting in June, you're not wanting to change?
I think we should keep that. It's a good mid.
Susan, the reference in September is not a joint meeting. It's just to put you on the council agenda for you to present what your board has done.
Is that what you're...
September, we have to present the budget and the business plan.
Yes, and you would do that at a council meeting. It would not require a joint meeting because your board has voted on it. You're just telling council what you've done based on the July meeting. I mean,
correct.
The June meeting.
Yes. Okay.
So we don't have
you don't
to
need
have
an
that
extra.
That's right.
Okay.
So Clint's saying, can we add that into the October meeting? And I
think that's fine.
Okay. If you can do that, that's great.
That's great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we can do that.
What Visit Bastrop is proposing is that we maintain the joint meeting in June and that Visit Bastrop is on council agenda in January, April, July, and October. Am I... Is that clear? Everybody's on the same page? Mm-hmm. They may or may not vote for it, but that's what you're proposing.
Yes, sir.
September information.
We do the budget in October. Yeah.
I just
Susan, do we need to give more thought into which month that is? If you're talking about some numbers take 2 months to come out, so do we need to do it? Which month of the quarter should we do it?
No, this is fine.
Is it? Okay.
If I have 3 full months in front of a reporting month, that's fine.
You want to do the second meeting in the month?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So the meeting in October will be their normal quarterly meeting plus their budget meeting they normally do. So it would be a double item on the agenda.
Are you okay with that, city manager? Does that mess up your budget numbers? Because we will have adopted the budget by then.
What'd she say?
She said if you wait till the end of October to ask for something, we will have already approved the budget, so you won't be getting anything. So you may want to know what you want before we.
Well, that's why I want to keep the June meeting. I want to have June be the opportunity for an ask.
And that's why I'm saying, is June too early? Do you know what you want in June?
And Susan, you can get on the agenda anytime.
Okay. Yeah.
So if there's something y'all want to talk about, you only have to ask.
Okay.
This is just creating an expectation of when you would report. So if y'all want something in the budget, it would be helpful if you come in July or August before we get too far down the road.
I think we could either take the June meeting and move it to July, or we can keep it as it is. It really, June was fine. It forces me to do some budget planning ahead of time and the strategic planning, so it's really okay. If we wanted to move it to July, I will always take an extra month for a joint council meeting.
We're all on the same side, so we're just trying to make it easy for y'all to do what you need to do because we want you to be successful so we can be successful. So
I would say July for the joint council.
Okay.
It would be a separate meeting.
Okay, so we have second meeting of the month, presenting your, the proposal is quarterly updates in January, April, July, and October, and the contractual joint meeting would be moved from June to July.
So we would have 2 meetings in July.
Well, no, we have 2 council meetings in July, and you would present at one of them, and then there will be a one-time, once-a-year joint meeting together.
Okay, yes.
Okay. And we're not voting on it now, but that's potentially what the proposal is. I'm getting dirty looks over here, so I'm not looking over there.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on. To the
Our
next item.
third is to change section 3.2 to reflect a 3-year forecast versus a 5-year forecast. This is just what we feel is better forecasting, to do it 3 years versus 5 years. The industry changes way too fast.
I was going to say 5 years is like a lifetime,
Right.
isn't it, in this industry? Okay. Council, do you have any questions for her or any concerns on the 3 versus 5? Okay.
Okay,
Next.
and then lastly is I spoke about the approval.
Councilmember Jackson, did you have a question?
No, I was just saying to myself that the 3 years kind of coincides with council terms, and so that's kind of, that would be good.
Well, 2 of 6 people council terms that won't coincide with the other 4, right? Okay, keep going.
Okay, the last agreement consideration is the collaborative arts event coordinator position. So I'm asking for City Council to approve funding for that position above and beyond the existing marketing budget that we have. An estimated cost for salary, which is an all-in cost of $125,000, a marketing budget of $75,000. So the total request is for $183,000 for this position.
Shockingly, I have an opinion, but I'm going to ask my council if they have any comments first. Anybody want to comment? Councilmember Ennis?
I hate to be a naysayer, but we have a cultural arts master plan that is going to be presented Tuesday night. That's going to be a large part of Bastrop's effort in the arts. And I'm certainly not against this idea, but do we need to coordinate it with the cultural arts master plan? Just
Sure seems like it needs to work together, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I can't get close enough to this, the cord on it. My comment would be, if I understand what Visit Bastrop is interested in doing, is that this position actually pays for itself, and it's going to leverage some of the artistic opportunities like Film Bastrop and some other things. So this, to me, would be easy to coordinate with the Cultural Arts Master Plan and whatever comes from that, much like the Visitor Center and the Convention Center partner with Visit Bastrop. It would just be something else to leverage. But your question is timing? Is that your concern?
Well, as you know, I've been the liaison to the BAIPP, Bastrop Art in Public Places, and they have been working on this, and we have been expecting the Cultural Arts Master Plan, and it is an overwhelming document with all kinds of suggestions on where Bastrop should go. And I just don't want to be jumping out there without taking everything into consideration.
Any other comments from council on the topic? Councilmember Rogers?
This money's not in the budget. We've already been discussing in our budget book, right? It's already has no money as it is.
Susan, is this a net neutral, that this position will generate heads and beds that pays for it? So if they approve it, we could bump the revenue because it would be something that they would generate the revenue
The
for?
economic impact from this should exceed the funding.
The one thing to keep in mind is this is coming out of hot funds, so this isn't property tax. The money that would fund
I
this person
understand what
can't.
we're
Yeah, it can't.
I understand what
No,
we're
no, I know
funding.
you understand, but there's people watching that don't
Okay.
understand. This is not $183,000 that could be used to fix potholes and repave a road. We need to be super clear about that. Continue.
I'm good. I'll keep my thoughts.
Any other council comments? Okay, my opinion is that number seems high. And it seems high. That $125,000 seems like a pretty hefty, but is it, you gotta pay hefty so you get a heavy hitter
Well,
so
it's,
they become net neutral?
salary, benefits, computers. It's everything that's rolled into putting that position in place. And then the marketing budget.
So it's, this person would be paid, and then they would also, the marketing budget would be for them to spend more marketing dollars to try to, is that how that works?
Right. They would have a specific budget to market the cultural arts program.
Can we give you $92,000 and see if they pay for them? Yeah, no, like you did on your hot funds. We'll give you 6 months and half the money, and if they're making their money, we'll give you the rest of it. I heard that earlier. It seems like a great idea.
Well, the salary was set, and then the benefits is just the number that Tracy Waldron gave us as a 30 to 35% all-in number for benefits, and then the estimated marketing budget was based on the fact of what we know it costs to do proper marketing.
Let me ask the question a different way, because I'm ignorant in this, and that is, what would the education or certification or experience would a person have to be qualified to apply for this job?
I think it's basically a sales position with a little bit of a different title, because they are working with, they would have to have experience, interpersonal skills, working with a go-getter, somebody that's going to go out there and really hustle and put these packages together, somebody that can come up with some marketing ideas of their own. It's a sales and marketing position, because basically what we're doing is packaging, we're packaging a segment with that person.
So is that a bachelor's degree in sales and marketing?
I would say a bachelor's degree. If they had something in tourism, that would be great. Not necessarily, because it's sometimes a hard one to catch. But yeah, bachelor's degree with some business and sales background.
How does this differ and enhance your current marketing program?
It's specific to just this industry, and arts is just growing so fast that that particular segment, it would just enhance that particular segment, because it's just growing so fast, and we have so much here in Bastrop to offer. We can't put all of our marketing funds just into arts, because we have to separate it out over the different sectors. We just feel like this is one of the sectors that we could get the best return on investment.
Have you guys taken the time to write like a job description that your board has vetted, so you know what you would be looking for? Or is it like there's no point in doing all that work if they're not going to give us the money?
Exactly. The latter.
Susan, is this something that perhaps could be funded for half of a year? And Councilmember Ennis's point of the Cultural Arts Master Plan, that be taken into consideration and some thought be put into what this position might target right off the bat, as far as being able to leverage this?
You mean starting in 6 months versus starting in October?
Yes, and so the Cultural Arts Master Plan would get adopted, would be able to be rolled out. That board would have some perspective on what that's likely to be, and the timing might be a little better.
Yes.
Would this also be inclusive of all of our arts, visual, film, culinary?
Yes.
Performing?
Yes, yes.
Once you see the Cultural Arts Master Plan, I think you'll understand why I brought that up.
Okay.
It's pretty, that's descriptive.
It's pretty.
So
Okay.
that's the end of our presentation.
Okay,
Any
well,
questions
first
or
off,
comments before you vote?
Excellent presentation. Round of applause.
Thank you.
70 slides in an hour and a half with an extensive conversation. You are our new hero. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Council, we're going to move to actions to approve. It's my understanding that your board has already accepted and voted on these recommendations that you're making to us, so it's only for council to vote. Is that correct, or does your board need to vote on the amendments that we made to the meeting
Our
schedule?
board needs to vote as well.
You guys
We
might
need to
want
vote as well.
to do what you need to do before we vote.
Are you prepared?
Of course, I'm always prepared. Do we have a motion to approve? Let's
Please.
read them here.
You want me to read them?
Well, the first one would be President's report will include the sales, marketing, and public relations metric along with the industry's economic update and trends format at the discretion of Visit Bastrop so that it's no longer tied to the exhibit that it's currently tied to. Mindy makes a motion. Do we have a second? Do we have any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes. Second, do we have a motion to request to change the monthly reporting from monthly to quarterly? And specifically to make the meetings January, April, July, and August with the joint October, sorry, with the joint meeting in July as well. Scott? Tom made a motion. Do we have a second?
Sean.
Sean? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. And then do we have a motion to change section 3.2 to reflect the 3-year forecast instead of a 5-year forecast?
Jamie?
Jamie? And Kevin made a second? Okay, any discussion?
Bless you.
All in favor? Aye. Passes. Okay, and then last, do we have a motion to request a half-year? Are we going to do full year, or what are we going to request?
Let's go for half year.
Okay, a half year of the Collaborative Arts Events Coordinator as described in the slideshow presentation with an estimated annual budget 92.5 for half a year.
So the intention of the proposal is, the reason it's only 6 months is because you would start ideally after the Cultural Arts Master Plan has been resolved. But I do appreciate that it seems, I'm not going to apply for a job that says, you got 6 months. Right. You know, so I think it goes without saying that the intention is that is a continuous job, but that it would not start on, you guys wouldn't be advertising for it to start on October 15th. You have You got to get a microphone, or you can't say.
I just want to say that we're working together to create those packages. Susan, Lisa, myself, Patricia, Kathy's there, Main Street Program Chief. So I think in the first 6 months, we're going to have a great groundwork for this person to do something really productive, because we will have things already in place to, work from, like a stepping stone sort of thing. So I think it might be okay.
So do we have a motion to request that? Move. Okay. And Brenda seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? All right. So we have approved all those.
All right, thank you, Chair. Okay, Council, we're on item 3C, consider action to approve minor contract amendments as a result of the discussion. The first item before us is that the President reports will include sales, marketing, and public relation metrics along with industry economic update and trends Format is at the discretion of Visit Bastrop.
So my question being, so we're going to take each one of these as a different vote? It's one,
Yes.
It's one item?
Yes.
Okay, just asking.
Yeah, we're going to vote on 4 things.
I move to approve.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rogers. I have a second from Councilmember Jackson. Is there any discussion on the motion that we allow them to have the discretion of Visit Bastrop rather than using the example that's in the current contract?
Yes, ma'am. Again, I'd like to request there be a glossary in there for items that we have difficulty understanding at times.
Councilmember Rogers, are you willing to amend your motion to include a glossary for Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes, because I'm sure there's others out there that need
Okay,
it
so
too.
we have a friendly amendment. Councilmember Jackson, are you prepared to still second the friendly amendment?
Yeah, I'm still confused on what the glossary is, but yes, since it's from Mayor Pro Tem Nelson, I'll go along with that.
Yes. So that glossary will mean that they won't use acronyms that Mayor Pro Tem Nelson doesn't know what they mean, or the rest of us. So, okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, and we're going to all know what we're talking about. That's for all of us, because we don't use y'all's acronyms like y'all do, and it gets lost. So it's just helpful, and for the general public as well, for them to know what we're talking about. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Ennis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Council. We're now moving to the next item, which is move from monthly reporting required in Contract 2.3 Business Plan CII to quarterly reporting to City Council to occur at the second council meeting in January, April, July, and October. Additionally, to move the joint meeting outlined in the contract from June to July.
I move for approval on that.
I have a motion to approve from Councilmember Jackson.
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember Rogers. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson.
Out of respect to Councilmember Ennis, I recognize how hard he and others worked on this and the angst that our community went through during that time. I think that our vote tonight, if it goes to a quarterly meeting notice, is indicative of the work that Susan has done, Ms. Smith has done. I think her attitude and aptitude in doing her job has been extremely beneficial to this process. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge not only the work that Councilmember Ennis and others did, but also the work of the past several months that Ms. Smith has undertaken and brought about these positive changes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Nelson. I think that Ms. Smith has done an excellent job, but it's also worth noting that Ms. Smith reports to a board that has done an excellent job and given her excellent direction and set expectations for her and her staff. So it's really everyone in the room that we are reaping the benefits of their hard work. Councilmember Ennis?
I want to reiterate again that my opposition to this is only as a protective measure for y'all. Some of those battles are still pretty raw in some of our constituents' minds, and my concern is only for y'all's continuance and safety and staying out of
it's going to hurt them more than it's
staying
going to
out
hurt
of the
you.
political phrase, so to speak.
That's
So-
what my daddy used to say before he'd spank me. This is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Councilmember Ennis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Yay. All right, moving on to change section 3.2 to reflect a 3-year forecast versus a 5-year forecast.
Move for approval.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Mayor Pro Tem Nelson, a second from Councilmember Ennis. Is there any discussion? Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Ennis?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Yeah, we're doing this all together. Okay. But one thing that we're going to do before, which is an extra item for council to do, is we need I would like it if someone would make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute these changes that we've approved, because she is the person who signed the contract, and although they are minor, we need to give her the authority to sign and execute the minor so that we have an up-to-date contract.
I move that we allow the city manager latitude to execute these changes as needed.
Second.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Nelson and a second from Councilmember Peterson to authorize the city manager to execute the minor amendments to the contract voted and approved by City Council on September 9th, 2019. Any further conversation? Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Ennis?
Yes.
Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Councilmember Jackson likes to change his voice to see if we still know that it's him. It's a new, unique, I appreciate it. It makes me smile. Okay, the next item that we're talking about is the approval of a collaborative arts event coordinator. The funding that has been requested is for the job to be salary and benefits at $125,000 and a 12-month marketing budget of $75,000. As it is currently proposed, it would be starting in April of 2020, and so council is being asked to provide another $92,500 in hot funds to the fiscal year 1920 Visit Bastrop budget. And Susan, the way this works is I need a motion in a second, and then we can have conversation and all. And actually, you're not on the board, so it's 91.5, not 92.5. Sorry, 91.5. So before we have a motion, I'm going to let Susan make another comment before we make a motion.
As I'm sitting here thinking about this, bringing somebody on in April, like Mayor mentioned, for a 6-month possible term and not knowing what's going to happen with that would make recruiting efforts extremely difficult. I would prefer that we look at this as working with Councilmember Ennis and looking at the cultural arts program combined with what we are requesting, and not put a hard date of April on it, because I think that it may be something that, like Kay mentioned, it may be something that can happen much quicker than April, and I'd hate to be held back by a date. And again, I think 6 months to hire that's going to be really difficult.
So
I know there's an assumption that it's recurring.
Yeah. So,
however,
Ms. Smith, my suggestion might be that we not vote on it tonight. You're presenting in January and April, and when you've had a chance to review the Cultural Arts Master Plan, when you see what everybody's presented, if you get it all together and you're ready to rock and roll, come to council and ask for the position to be, and at that point you would have a job description, you'd know more than you know right now. And if you come up with all of it and it's between January and April, all you have to do is ask, and we'll put you on an agenda item, because we can authorize additional funds to be moved to your contract for specific items. We have that ability to do that anytime.
I would prefer to see that happen, because I think pushing things out to April, I have not seen the plan, and I truly believe that we're actually probably pretty well coordinated already, so I don't want to be held to the April deadline.
So
actually, that's exactly what I was going to ask you, not to bring it, for them to bring it back when they were ready, instead of I hate approving something that's halfway, that's 6 months from now, that you haven't even seen that 6 months, and you don't know what you might need to by that time. Heck, we don't know.
So I think the biggest message that council's giving back to the Visit Bastrop board is we're not opposed to the position, but let's put some more meat on the bones and most importantly, for Councilmember Ennis's point of wrap in the Cultural Arts Master Plan, come back to us, and most likely we're going to rock and roll. But it'd be that way, you know exactly what you're asking for, and we know exactly what you're asking for.
And that's great. And I'm glad that you brought that up, Councilmember Ennis, so that we know that that's happening, and we can hopefully be part of that process.
Great, and I want to make sure everybody in the room understands it's not the Ennis Cultural Master Plan, it's council's master plan.
It is now.
Yeah, now it is. Do you need a motion from us to table this until such time?
No, because there's not an action item, so, I mean, it wasn't a listed individual consideration. It was, all we did was consider actions to approve minor contract amendments, and we approved the amendments we wanted, and we've given her the authority to execute those. I'm getting ready, once I call on Councilmember Peterson, we disappear. So is there anything else that you guys are wanting to talk about? Are you feeling good? Just excellent job. Just fantastic. Nobody 2 years ago would have expected us to be where we are today. So hats off to each and every one of you.
It's a team effort for all of us.
Just
Thank you as well.
Fantastic. Okay, Councilmember Peterson?
Yes, I'd like to say, Visit Bastrop, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Thank you for your time and effort that you put into this process. Hey, you're doing a great job. Motion to adjourn.
It is 8:24 and City Council is adjourned.
To adjourn? Tom Scott made a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned, 8:40.
No, you'll have to stay 8:24 or you'll have to sit here.
Oh, 8:24.
You don't want to